Hello, everyone, and welcome to Momentum Mondays. On these weekly series, every Monday, we invite one inspiring young man or woman to our show and talk to them about important topics, including investing, financial planning, and financial education. Many of our guests include fellow YouTubers and investors who I've followed on YouTube and enjoyed their contents. Without any further ado, let's get into it. Here I have with me Joe. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
Awesome. We're so happy to have you on our show. I came across Joe's contents on YouTube. I've been following him on YouTube with his finance related contents that he posts. And I really wanted to have him on our show. So I'm glad that he accepted my invite and joined us here. So Joe, my first question that I ask pretty much all of our kind of guests is, tell us a little bit more about yourself and introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, my name's Joe. I'm 22 years old. I grew up in New Jersey my entire life and got into investing and personal finance when I was 14. And I also grew up as a musician and a bunch of other weird hobbies as I got older. But finance and personal growth and joining the FIRE community has really stuck with me throughout all the years. So here I am now.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, your first intro video that you posted for your channel, I believe you were playing piano, and then that's how you opened up and introduced your channel. So maybe tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel. When did you started it, and what was your motivation to actually start the channel in the first place?
So I started my channel about 6 to 7 months ago, if I remember that correctly. I've always wanted to start a channel. I've always loved finance videos. So even a couple years before my channel started, I was always watching videos and commenting on people's videos. And I always related to people my age. So I said, why don't I just make a channel, talk about things? And in my content, I just don't try to sell anybody anything. I don't try to basically just get their money, so to speak. Just provide value and be honest with people and tell them that how to actually save money. And see if people actually listen to me, if it resonates with people. And at first, when I started, I honestly didn't think anybody was going to watch my content. I was just doing it for fun. And then I got my first subscriber and I got super excited. And then after a couple of weeks, I got about 30 to 40 subscribers. And then that motivation was there. So every week I was uploading video after video. More people were commenting. I was commenting back. And then I really got into the community of smaller channels between about 500 and 3,000 subscribers. And I've met some really cool people along the way. So as of now, my channel is more about just real estate and stock market investing. I like to pick individual stocks that I'm interested in. But I also do tips on how to live frugally and how to save more money or make more money using side hustles. And that's my main target.
That's awesome. And you're bang on. I think dealing with different like-minded individuals, especially those who are maybe also making YouTube channels and really watching their videos and collaborating or hearing what their perspectives are, really sometimes inspires you. I also remember when I started my channel and getting those first few subscribers, really encouraging and inspiring. And I think you're doing quite well. If I'm not mistaken, you're upwards of 700 right now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So you're almost there, getting to the 1K, which is a huge milestone for many YouTubers. So
yeah,
that's awesome. You talked about how you focus on stock investing, finances, and also real estate. But there was this one video that I watched on your channel where you talk about how to buy Bitcoin. I think the title was How to Buy Bitcoin Easiest and Safest Way. And in that, you talked how you started at the time, starting, I think, buying $100 of worth of cryptocurrency. And then over time, repeating that, I believe, for at least a month that you did it. And in the video, you talk how you managed to turn $400 into over $1,000 and really providing some tips how others people can go about if they're interested in cryptocurrency. Maybe tell me a little bit about that experience. Are you still pursuing that? And when and why did you start investing in cryptocurrencies?
Sure. And I'm actually glad you liked that video. That was one of my personal favorites. I really went out of my comfort zone with that. I want to try a new form of investment and put my money where my mouth was for my subscribers, just to show them that I'm willing to try new things. At that point, it was about the middle of November when I started this, and a lot of the popular finance YouTubers were talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum, and there was getting a lot of hype around it. So I was like, why don't I just try it? So I watched a few videos of different apps, different websites you can use to invest in the cryptocurrencies, and I got started using Coinbase. That's just my preferred platform. And my personal investing strategy that I like the most is dollar cost averaging. It's worked very well for me throughout the years. So I said, I'm just going to put $100 a week into there every single week and just let it sit and see what happens. And when I started to do that, Bitcoin was around $17,000 for a coin. And right now, I think today when I checked, it was between like 36 and 37,000. So I invested around $400 of my own money when I made that video, and it went just above $1,000. As of now, I have around $700, and it's sitting around 1,400. And the price of Bitcoin actually hasn't risen much since that video was made, but I'm still holding. I just enjoy it. I think it's fun. I also, this is not an affiliate, but I use a side app where I store my cryptos called BlockFi, and you can earn interest on there, because I'm a big believer in earning interest. Just don't let your money sit. So that's what I do for that. And I just wanted to share with everybody else what I was doing and then see if they were interested as well.
I heard about BlockFi on your video and also a couple of other videos. Sadly, so I live in Canada. We don't have that service in here. I really wish we did have. So kind of sucks for us. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I think the notion that while you have your cryptocurrencies, like, there, might as well just earn some interest on the side as well. And I think in your videos, you talk about, depending on the type of cryptocurrency, there are different types of either interest or different kind of pieces that they provide to you.
So the different types of currencies have different interest rates, and they advertise it frequently. When interest rate gets risen, they'll promote it to the top of the app so you can see it and see if you want to convert the cryptocurrency into another form. So on that app, you can convert Bitcoin into Ethereum and vice versa. And a lot of people do that, kind of just manipulate their money, try to earn a little bit more as it sits. I personally don't do that. I like a passive approach, just let things sit and grow.
Now, have you dabbled in other cryptocurrencies or just Bitcoin?
Just Bitcoin, but I do want to be completely transparent. I put like $20 into Dogecoin when that had its big hype, when GameStop and Wall Street Bets is happening. I made a little bit of money off that, but that was just more for laughs. I have a Discord. Are you familiar with that app?
Yeah, but I don't have one for my channel. That's really good.
So in that community, they were just talking about it, and I decided to do it just for fun. And that was that. So that's the only other cryptocurrency I've invested into.
Nice. Okay. Do you still hold on? Have you hold on to those, to that, or no? Have you sold your what you had owned of that particular cryptocurrency?
I've actually sold that. I bought it and held on to it for maybe 2 days. It went up over 100%, and I just got out of there. I was like, I was more than happy with the results. I didn't want to stay in there.
Nice. That's pretty cool. So the follow-up question on that. I know in that video, initially you were thinking of dollar cost averaging almost every week. Have you continued to do that, or perhaps at a certain point you stopped necessarily adding more money to it? You're just waiting and not adding any more new money to your Bitcoin collections?
I've continued to do that. Since that video was made, I keep putting $100 every Sunday. It gets automatically deposited into my account, and then I convert it over to BlockFi, and I just keep doing that. And at one point, Bitcoin actually dropped down to around 29,000. So I put a little bit more when it was lower, and then went back up. And my price target is actually 50,000. I think that's reasonable for the short term. And once it hits that price, I'll most likely make another video, then an update for all my subscribers, just to let them know how that's going. And that's my goal for that so far.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully that happens very soon. So, Joe, maybe this is a good segue for our viewers who are watching this video. If they are interested to follow your journey and watch out your videos on YouTube, how can they find you on YouTube?
So my YouTube channel, the actual name is called Unorthodox Savings. I thought it was a catchy name. I like to talk about things that aren't usually talked about. You can search that up there. My full name is actually Joe Scazzaro. So when you find my channel, you'll see on the top on the channel art I have all my social medias, the Discord channel, different communities like that. As of now, I don't have a huge following, so I always answer right away. So if anybody ever has a question or they just want to talk to me one-on-one and see like what am I doing with my investments, I'm more than happy to talk to people. And yeah, anybody who's joining, welcome. I'm happy to see you.
That's awesome. Be sure to follow Joe, and he definitely posts very interesting videos. And what's so unique about, I think, following a lot of YouTubers that I do follow is I'm interested in seeing how their perspectives are, because the topic, while it might be the same, each and every YouTuber individual, I think, has their own unique perspective to it and how they internalize that. So that's something I really enjoy watching Joe's videos for sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you talked about stock market investing as well. So I'm curious about that. How long have you been investing in the stock market? You mentioned picking stocks. So I would imagine that seems to be your approach of stock investing. Tell us a little bit more about that. How long has it been, and what has been your experience so far?
So I've been investing to the stock market for about 4 years. I started when I was 18. I'm 22 now. And when I got started, I actually have a weirder start than most investors. So my neighbor who lived across the street used to work on Wall Street.
Oh, wow.
And she's a little bit older. She's in her 50s now. She actually got really sick and she just retired. She didn't want the stress anymore. And I took a risk. I always wanted to learn. So I knocked on her door. I said, "Hey, can you teach me?" I was like, "I have no idea what I'm doing." And she's a very nice lady. And once a month on a Sunday, she sat me down and she taught me how to pick the right stock, what to look for. So I was actually really good at reading charts for stocks and how to day trade, so to speak. And I did that for probably 2 years. Once I was 20, I moved, so I wasn't near her anymore. And I ran into a problem where I didn't understand the fundamentals of a company. So I knew how to read the charts, but for long-term investing, I was just up in the air. I didn't know what to pick, what was a good sector. So I basically had to start over again, which I was grateful for because it made investing fun. And I learned how to basically long-term invest. So I started a dividend portfolio where I use M1 Finance. And then every week I put around $150 in there.
Very nice. Yeah. So it seems that you kind of have found your interest, like you're pursuing that element of longer term horizon from the sound of it, from what I'm hearing from you, and also having a dividend portfolio. Do you dabble in trading as more of a short term approach, or no, that's not your interest?
Yes. So I actually did it for my YouTube channel. I have a Robinhood account, which I have now switched over to Webull because of current events happening with Robinhood and everybody suing it, where I put $1,000 my own money and I want to turn it into $10,000. And I actively trade on that daily and I talk about it in my Discord just so people in that community have something to talk to me about and it's more fun. And I just do things. It also keeps me on top of different sectors. I'm into AI technologies in the cannabis sector. So I like talking about things like that. And I learn a lot of new things off of trading in the short term. But that's about 5% of my net worth. I don't like doing that with a large sum of money because there's times where I lose money and probably a good amount, to be fair. So I don't want to put the false illusion to people that I'm always making money 24/7.
That's a good realization, and being honest with yourself and also with your followers that, stock market investing and trading, adding to that, trading can definitely be risky. And because there's volatility and you can't always be right. If everyone was always right, we would have all been billionaires. So sometimes you have to kind of reflect on that.
True. Actually, I have a question for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Watching your channel, I've liked it a lot. I watch a lot of your interviews. I love the conversations you have with people. How did you get your start with trading and investing? Are you a long-term investor? Are you a short-term investor?
Yeah, that's a great question, Joe. So I wouldn't consider myself much of a trader. I'm not like a day trader by any means at all. More so investor. I did start investing about 4 years ago, so similar to you. So I really, and I'm not as young as you for sure. I'm in my late 30s. So I really wished I had started as young as your age. But so kudos to you for getting started at such a young age. And I'm really inspired by your story of really taking the initiative to take time to go and talk to your neighbor who was from Wall Street, right? So of course you went to someone who's dealt with it, learned along the way, and really reflecting on it and internalizing that knowledge. So good for you. That's, I think, amazing. It's very inspiring. As for me, like I said, 4 years ago, started with it. In the beginning, didn't know much. So that's why I started with passive investing, more so like a robo-advisor. We have here in Canada a brokerage firm called Wealthsimple. It makes it super simple. You just put money in it and they buy a proportionate amount of high quality exchange traded funds. The cost is so minimal, and at the same time, you don't have to really do a lot of research. But by watching a lot of YouTube videos, some of the famous names that we know of, Financial Education Jeremy, Graham Stephan, Kevin, and you name it, and also reading, try to educate myself better and better, and then started small, like by picking some stocks. My approach, I would say, is mostly longer term horizon. That being said, I don't just invest in dividend stocks. I also invest in growth stocks. So there are some growth companies that I do see, although they don't pay a dividend, but I do feel that from a fundamental perspective, they have a bright future ahead of them from a valuation perspective. I believe that that's the right time for me, and I have a longer term. So if it goes down, I'm not going to panic and necessarily sell. If anything, I will try to similar approach as you, dollar cost average.
That's actually really cool. I like people who have like a sound plan of what they're doing, and it sounds like really secure. Well, your approach is more passive now. Do you have side hobbies as well that you do? Because I know you live in Canada. I'm not well educated what's going on in Canada. I'm not sure if you live in a rural area or if you're in a city.
No, actually, I do live in Edmonton, which is the kind of the capital of the province of Alberta. So yeah, just in terms of side hustles, I believe that's where you're getting to, right? So obviously, YouTube channel, when I started it back in 2019, it was because it's a topic that finance and investing has been a topic that I've been so passionate about. I started in 2017, but over years, I grew really more and more interest. And similar story to yours, I wanted to kind of share what I know of, and through this process, connect with like-minded people. And one thing that always I remind myself of is the fact that as you start to try to share something that you know of with others and try to quote unquote teach, that's the best way for you to also learn, because you have to then try to simplify it as much as possible. And through that process, you might correct yourself and learn from other people. You reflect on some of your perspectives, and others tells you, have you considered this or that? And really makes you think. So I've had a blast with it. Obviously, the channel is monetized. Now, after 1 year, the channel got monetized. So really, it's exciting to see that by spending time talking about the topics that I'm passionate about, I also can bring in some passive income through YouTube. So that's really nice. I am passionate about video editing and social media marketing and digital marketing. So I do have my own consulting firm on the side, which I do provide services for that. So that's another side hustle. I speak French, so I do teach French on the side online as a tutor. So that's another source of income. I do have my 9-to-5 job, quote unquote. So that is also a major portion of my income. But all that to say, do I see myself necessarily wanting to retire at the age of 60 or 65? No, I definitely, that's one of the reasons that I'm trying to have multiple sources of income. So I get to a point where hopefully I reach that fire point where you can retire early, or at least pursue things that you're passionate about. Maybe you don't officially retire, but you don't have to work just for the sake of working, but you do work because you love to work, for instance. Are you pursuing a fire journey yourself? Or I know you're very young, but yeah, I'm just curious, someone yourself, like yourself, Joe, are you thinking about retirement, or is it too early for you to even think about it?
I'm definitely thinking about retirement. The job I actually have now, you're way busier than I am for sure. The job I have now, for social media reasons, I'm actually not allowed to say the name, but for Google search, you can easily find it. I work for a gas and electric company in New Jersey, and I call it the most physical finance job you can ever have, because I walk about 10 miles a day and I collect the bills from different meters, and that's my job. So that's my 9 to 5, and I love it. It's actually not bad. I get paid to exercise, but I know I'm not going to want to do that when I'm 30, 40, or 50. So as of now, I'm investing into stocks and real estate. and hopefully one day I can retire early. My personal goal was actually 35 because I feel like this is like a prime age. You just want to be out of work and do things. Hopefully I have a family by then. Who knows what's going to happen. So that's my goal. But
That's
that's
exciting.
actually really cool that you can speak French. You have your own consulting firm. I did not know that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, no, it's fun. I've always been passionate about not just focusing on one thing, and that I always like to dabble through different things, and because it allows you an opportunity to learn new things. So really, and to be honest, one of the reasons that really I wanted to start these Momentum Mondays was the opportunity to. It's a new thing, first of all, for me at least. I'm not saying it's brand new. Obviously, I got inspired by Graham Stevens, iced coffee hours, and a lot of other
Yep.
similar YouTubers that are like very ahead of me in that sense. But it is fun. Why not? You talk to people, you learn from them, and you have a nice conversation. And I thought that maybe not as much as I also enjoy it. Hopefully, the conversation is also going to bring value to viewers, right? Other people as well who might be interested to know, hey, what does Joe think about this topic? You talked about real estate now, Joe, and that's a topic that I'm interested in. So we just most recently bought a house, my wife and I, and so definitely something that we do consider ourselves really wanting to expand as a more way of a diversification. So I'm curious, have you dabbled in that? When you say real estate, are you more thinking about real estate investment trust REITs, or are you thinking actually buying a real estate? What are your thoughts? I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Sure. Well, first, congratulations on your home.
Thank you.
Second, I am interested in REITs. As an investment standpoint, I think that the value of them has gotten lowered way too much due to the virus and everything like that. But I actually got my real estate license over
Oh,
quarantine. So I thought that I was going to learn some secrets from that and like learn how to buy a house like that YouTube couldn't teach me. That's actually not the truth. You basically had to deal with people. And I passed the test and everything like that. And I started saving up my money and I was really looking for a rental property because where I live, I'm actually in a college town.
mhm.
So rental properties go like that. So you have to be quick.
Yeah.
And as of now, interest rates are at all time low in my
Mhm.
area. So everybody wants to buy. And I actually got to talking because I live in a small town. And I know somebody who owned a house and they
Mhm.
were looking to sell it as a basically retirement fund. They were the husband lost his job, something like that. I don't want to go
Mhm.
into their personal business,
Mhm.
but they're willing to sell the house to me for $200,000, and I'm currently in the process of making a deal with them. And I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't like to say I'm doing something and the deal falls through. Everybody goes,
Mhm.
"Hey, like what happened to that?" But that's actually going to be my second real estate property. And what you're seeing behind me is actually the home I live in now.
Very nice. That's amazing. It's so inspiring to see young people such as yourself, Joe, that from such early age are thinking about it. Like really, you're looking into building your assets column. I'm borrowing the term from the Rich Dad Poor Dad that most recently I made a video on. Have you read that book, Joe?
Actually, yes, that was the first investing or finance book I've ever read was Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that changed my perspective 100%.
And it's so important that the mindset that you have, because it's funny, and it's interesting that you actually mentioned that you pursued your real estate license and you now have your real estate license. What made you pursue that, if I may ask?
I had a lot, well, the real reason I had a lot of free time
Okay.
and I just wanted to do it. It was virtual because of the virus, so I could do it from home on my laptop. Same thing with the test. I could take the test off my computer.
Mhm.
So if I didn't have to leave my home, I just wanted to do it, say I had it. And I wasn't well educated on real estate. So I just wanted to learn more. And if I was going to make a YouTube channel and talk about real estate, I didn't want to spread false information or be underqualified when I talked
Mhm.
about things. So I just did that more for a milestone, just to say I did it.
Good for you, though. A lot of people have that same free time and they might just sit around and do nothing, or just, spend time on other stuff like watch TV and whatnot, but you took that time to really pursue something that I believe adds value. And I mean, real estate license is gonna, I think, be a practical license for you to have. Aside from that, I think it hopefully teaches you along the way different skills. Like there are a lot of transferable skills that is applicable. I think sales is probably one of those. Okay, so Joe, tell me a little bit about the stocks or sectors that you're most excited about in 2021. I'm curious.
Sure. There's a few. It's AI, like this robotic technologies, things like that. I'm really interested in that as a long-term play. Probably within like the next 5 years, I think that's really going to start becoming more relevant. So I'm starting to look at different, almost penny stocks that are going to merge with larger companies. I'm interested in cannabis stocks because in my state, marijuana's got legalized. So I know that that is going to grow to be like a big industry in the East Coast of the United States. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking for East Coast companies that are like looking to distribute out to other cities. I'm also looking for green energy because Joe Biden is our new president and he's looking to sign new deals. So I'm looking for other companies like that. And I'm also for short-term plays, I'm looking for SPACs. So you've probably seen tons of videos on YouTube about that. I just think that those companies are very easy to invest into. There's a lot of hype. And they're fun. They're fun to talk about, and there's some cool ideas behind them.
Yeah, like I believe that those sectors that you talked about are definitely are the ones that this year seems to be really top of the mind for many investors. But what I really liked is the fact that you're not just looking at them for a short term, but you're more so around the prospects of these sectors over the next several years. One of the sectors that I also am very interested is in the sector of green energy, clean energy, essentially, and looking into different stocks that are active in this field and really doing a little bit more research before adding more to my existing shares or perhaps buying a new stock. Is there one particular stocks that you're comfortable sharing with us that perhaps has been your best and biggest performer in your stock, whether you currently have it or in the past? And perhaps is there one that has been your worst performer that you're willing to share with our viewers?
Actually, yes, there's two. So the first one is going to get a lot of laughs because I also followed up by doing something you're not supposed to do. So I bought a call option on Tesla about 2 years ago, and I made a considerable amount of money in one trade. It was actually around $20,000.
Wow.
And instead of doing the responsible thing, I went out and bought a car.
Oh,
now,
okay.
I can make a 101 justifiable excuses, but at the end of the day, it's considered a liability. It wasn't anything fancy. It was actually a 2016 Nissan Maxima.
Okay.
I just wanted something more reliable, but going back thinking about it, I should have got a more cheap car or that's used a little bit more. My worst investment is actually, it's popular now, which I'm kind of like kicking myself over. It's called Mark, and it's a thermal technology company. So when the coronavirus is at its peak, they had this camera that could detect 100 heat signatures from people. So the casinos and were looking at this company to install cameras because at this point nobody knew when the vaccine was going to be made. So this was the next best thing. And they were in talks with the Trump administration as well as politicians over in China. So when I invested into this, it was around $1. So it was a penny stock. It was very volatile. And I held on to this for a year. And it just kept going down. It kept going down. And the moment I sold, it shot up to $3.
Oh, no.
So I was pretty upset with that. But you live and you learn. And I tell people all the time when they ask me in the Discord, like it happens.
Did you sell at the loss?
I did sell at a loss.
Yeah.
And I actually did it this year. So when I go to file taxes, I'm going to use that as a write-off.
Yeah, no, that kind of sucks, especially knowing that shortly after it actually does perform a lot better. But, it's also hard to time the market. You can't, right? So sometimes, sometimes you go with your gut feeling and sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not, but you can reflect on it and learn from how you reacted.
Yep.
Yeah.
But how about you? I know you're into green energies, but like you're into passive long-term investments. What has been your best investment?
Yeah, no. So I would say my best performers are for sure the active investors. Like you probably almost in passive investing, you're never gonna have like oh wow, this is the best. It hardly ever happens, except perhaps for some of those ARK Invest ETFs, which I didn't have at the time. So I can't just talk about that. But now I've started to buy some of those, especially in the Canadian hedge. But all that to say, I think my best performing stocks, the one that I had probably a larger position in, because I don't know about you, but for me, when I go for some of the more expensive stocks, I don't necessarily buy heavy. I probably buy maybe few, like I'm probably talking about 10, 15 stocks or so, like to that limit. I don't really go heavy. So the best one, not surprisingly perhaps, was Tesla. And I didn't get into Tesla like a lot like Jeremy back in $35 or something. No, not like that. Nothing like that. I got in actually a few months ago, I would say probably around November or so, perhaps October, November. I don't recall exact time, but it was at the time that I think I bought in. I think it was just after Tesla did the reverse split. So I bought it, I think around 400 or so. After that, it actually went down a little bit. I think it went down at one point to closer to 300. I added a couple more at that time, expecting that it's going to come back up. And then I sold mine most recently, I think a few days ago at around 850. So it wasn't not bad. I think close to 80 to 90% gain. Decent enough. You know, do I think Tesla has a bright future? Yes. Is it going to be volatile? Probably. I already made a good enough investment, return off of it that I said, you know what, I'm okay. I'm just going to take my money and run for the most part and use that money and maybe wait if there's anything else. So I used that money and bought a couple more shares of Boeing, because I do have, actually Boeing is it is my largest holdings, and my price is actually higher than what the price is. So I really wanted to take advantage of dollar cost averaging. So I bought more shares of Boeing, take advantage of that. I did buy a couple more shares of more information technology stocks, not Tesla, but other companies out there. So I'm happy with that decision. Now, my worst performers, and I've talked about it in one of my previous videos, is cannabis. So, which is why, whether it's good or bad, it's actually scared me so much so that I've kind of kissed goodbye to the cannabis sector and not getting close to it. But good for you, because I know you probably are doing your research and trying to buy at the right time. There was a time for us, because I live in Canada, cannabis stocks were going up so heavily because there was the anticipation for legalization of weed. And it did happen, but what happened was a bubble was formed already. And since then, the stocks went down heavily. And I really got fed up with that and really sold off pretty much all my shares. Maybe it was not the right decision, but it goes to show you sometimes, maybe from an investor's perspective, maybe you're not ready to see so much loss and 80, 90% of negative. It wasn't for me. I gave up after almost 1.5, 2 years and sold my shares at a loss, massive loss, I would say.
Well, I actually respect that a lot, though, because on both spectrums, at a loss and at a gain, you know when to sell and you just know when to, just let it be. Because a lot of people have a lot of hope, and they hold on to these stocks and they keep losing, or they miss the train of when to sell at a really large gain. So like I said before, you live and you learn. The cannabis industry is definitely a shaky industry. I'll admit that 100%, because one day you can be up 30% and the next day you can be right back to where you started. So you definitely have to stay on top of it, almost as like a daily occurrence. And I know that can be extremely stressful because nobody really knows what's happening for most of these companies. So it seems like you really know what you're doing, and at least you know what you're interested in, which is really important.
Yeah, you're so true. I think if you know at least what are some of the sectors that you're more interested in, the type of companies you're interested in, the chances are you're gonna spend more time to familiarize yourself with it. You have an idea what's going on. Whereas cannabis probably was the wrong choice for me for all that previously said. I wasn't interested to really spend time to really get to know it more about it, and I was very new to investing back then. This was like probably the wrong decision. When you're new and you don't know what's going on, probably you shouldn't invest. And even back then, I really got into it heavily. And I remember using margin account. So that was, wow, I learned my lesson really. Definitely do not recommend anyone to go for that unless you know what you're doing. But I don't think for the most investors, it is a wise decision. It's too risky.
Agreed. 100%.
Awesome. Next question, and changing gears a little bit here. I know you play piano, but do you mind maybe sharing with us a little bit about some of your hobbies? You asked me around some of my side hustles, but it doesn't have to be necessarily a side hustle. What are some of the passions that you pursue other than finance and stock investing?
I guess you can consider it as a passion. I'm more into fitness, into that whole industry of working out, different diets, things like that. A lot of people don't know this, but I was actually a pretty big guy. I was actually obese at one point when I was in high school. So I lost a bunch of weight. So that's kind of become like a daily thing. I don't like being that guy who's like making that like a personality trait kind of thing. I just like doing it as like a side thing. I like working out for my health, and that's really about it. Other hobbies that make me money are, I mentioned in a few different videos, I use the Fire website or the app, depending on what you prefer. And I make YouTube thumbnails for people off the Canva app. And it's, I recommend it to anybody who's looking to make more money really fast. It's so easy, and you don't have to put up any money up front. You can just do it yourself. I do it on my lunch breaks at work. So that's how quick it
Love
is, and
it.
it's fun.
It's so I watched that video. I remember I watched that video and I was like, wow, like it's so smart. I've used Canva, I love it, and it's to be honest, it actually makes the whole design process so much easier. It's very easy to use. But thinking about that and reflecting on how you were able to turn that into a source of income is pretty genius in a sense, I would say, because to me, why it's so inspiring is the fact that it's your mindset. Like you are looking at things around you that not everybody looks at it that way, and you're reflecting, hey, how can I perhaps turn that into a side hustle? And not only you get better at it because the more you use something, practice makes perfect, but also you're bringing in some extra cash. What is your most favorite finance or investing book?
Question. I have two, and they're kind of, one's for the math reason and learning the terminology of investing, and others more for philosophy and basically getting yourself hyped up in like a mental state where you want to be motivated to do things. And one is Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is the first book I ever read as the getting started. I always liked it. It changed my perspective on money and basically how the world works. And then for terminology and the math of investing was actually the Intelligent Investor. And that book, if you're brand new to investing, can seem very confusing because I actually read that book when I first got started and I had no idea what I was reading. I didn't even know what a bond was yet. I was 18 years old when I read it. So I was reading all these different terms. I had no idea, but it sparked a lot of things in my head to go on the internet, search up what this was, what that was, and it ended up teaching me a lot more than I could ever ask for. So if anybody ever asks me what books I recommend, it's at least one of those two for you.
Yeah.
For Canada, what trading platforms do you use? Because I actually have subscribers from all around the world, and I'm sure you do as well. A lot of them from the UK and Ireland. I have some in Eastern Europe. I have some in the Middle East, and then I also have some in Canada as well as South America. And everybody uses different trading platforms. One I've actually gone familiar with is called Trading 212, if I'm correct. I wasn't sure what that was. One of my subscribers in the UK uses that, so I wanted to familiarize myself with it because if anybody ever asked me a question, I would want to be able to help them. So I was asking what people in Canada use because I know you guys use something different for the cryptocurrency as well.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I think so. That's a great question, and you're absolutely right in a sense that I think I've seen viewers from different countries. They use a variety of different apps, and I know some of the apps might be available in multiple countries, but there are a couple that are not available in Canada, like Robinhood. We don't have it here. M1 Finance, we don't have it here. And I wish we did, but I really like how the layout and how they really make it easy and they show you all the pie charts and whatnot. We don't have those. So we have obviously a number of brokerage firms and investing apps that you could use. There are three that I can think of and I want to share with you. And these are not from the banks. These are obviously more of a private companies. One is called Wealthsimple. They have two sets of main products. One is Wealthsimple Invest, which is a robo-advisor and it's passive. But there's one that you can actually pick stocks, and that's called Wealthsimple Trade. And what's so unique about this app, I believe similar to probably Robinhood or M1, is the fact that there's no commission for buying or selling stocks for Canadian stocks. Now, For us, it gets tricky because, well, there's no fee for buying US stocks. You have to pay a conversion fee every time that you buy or sell US stock. So this account doesn't allow you to keep your money in US dollars.
That's actually really interesting. I did not know they charge you a fee for basically just living like a few miles north.
I know, yeah. So there are some apps that actually allow you to keep your money in US dollars account. Like for example, the Quest Trade is the second one that I want to talk about. The Quest Trade allows you to hold your account in US dollars. So the beauty of it is that way you don't, every time you buy and sell a stock in US dollars, like which many of actually my investments are in US dollars, you don't have to then pay a conversion fee every time. You just pay the conversion fee the first time that you deposit your money and convert it to US dollars. The downside with the Quest Trade is that unlike at least Wealthsimple Trade, they charge you a fee for your trades, for any investment. So let's say if you buy Apple stocks, the minimum fee that you have to pay is $4.95 in the respective currency. So let's say you pay $4.95 USD to whether you buy 1 shares of Apple or perhaps more. The maximum that it can go is I believe under $10. So if you buy a lot more, I think the maximum that they charge you is $10. Now with the banks, since you asked about that, the downside with a lot of the banks is that they charge a higher fee. I believe a lot of our banks charge you minimum $9 every time that you buy or sell any shares. So I think the market in US is a lot more competitive. You have a lot more choices in terms of brokerage firms. And that's why, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they don't charge you any conversion fee, nor do they charge you any, say, investing or trading fee. Do they?
Most are free now. There are still some that do, but nobody really uses them anymore. It's more of everything's free. The only thing that you actually have to pay money for when it comes to investing in the United States is ETFs. They have an expense ratio.
Oh, yeah.
So ARK and other things like that, if you're holding it, you do have to pay an expense ratio. But that's pretty much everywhere you go.
But that even comes from the fund manager. It's not even the brokerage firm charging anything on it, right?
Yeah, that's only from the fund manager. Canada or Canadians can use Coinbase and other apps like that, but you have to use a debit card, and that also charges a higher fee for that. I mentioned that in my cryptocurrency video, and I had one Canadian subscriber like basically ask me like, why would I tell him this kind of thing? And he made a good point. I was like, I have no idea. I was just trying to be helpful. And he actually like messaged me one-on-one and we had to talk about it, like what he uses and everything like that. And I had to go back and look at the name, but he uses another app for cryptocurrency. Are you investing in cryptocurrency yourself or just strictly stocks?
Yeah, I was at one point, and it's not a lot of money, but I don't know if that subscriber used it or not, but I use CoinSquare. So that's the one that I use. Coinbase, I haven't dabbled with. Wealthsimple has recently, because cryptocurrency got so hot, they introduced a new platform called Wealthsimple Crypto, and so I've just put in $100 just to give it a try. But you see, the problem with a lot of these apps, like I don't know how it is for Coinbase, or do you use Coinbase mainly? You said.
Yes.
Yeah. So my question is, does it allow you to actually put a limit buy or limit sell order? For example, you want to say, hey, I want to buy only if it hits this price. I don't want to buy right now. The reason I ask is that for CoinSquare, it allows you, similar to any stock that you want to buy, you could say, I'm interested to buy actually. So I'm interested to buy $100 of cryptocurrency, let's say Bitcoin at this price, and fulfill this order once it's hit. And I keep this order open for as long as it's actually fulfilled. CoinSquare allows you to do that. Whereas Wealthsimple Trade Crypto, it doesn't. So you just have to buy at the price that is right now. So you have to really be staying on top of the price. How is that for Coinbase?
So you can do that on Coinbase. I personally don't. I just buy in at a set time every Sunday. Unless I know that Bitcoin is underperforming, then I'll wait to buy in. Other apps such as Robinhood and Webull, not M1 Finance, Webull, they offer crypto trading now where it's actually easier to set a limit order or a limit sell. But I mentioned in my video, the bad part about that is if you're actually looking to own the physical coin, you won't be able to do that. You can still make profits in your money or lose money. But if you cryptocurrency can do what's called a fork, where it can split off to two different currencies. And how you have like Bitcoin and there's Bitcoin Gold. That's what a cryptocurrency can do, is it can fork off into two different currencies. You won't get that other currency if you use like a main brokerage.
Okay.
About Canadian apps, if that would work for you guys or not. But that's one thing I mentioned in my video, because Robinhood and Webull, they don't charge any fees at all. It's actually free to trade crypto, or Coinbase actually charges you a fee, and it's around 3% roughly.
Do they add the fee on top of the price? So the price that you're getting is not the real market price?
Yeah, so when you go to buy it, I'll give you a preview. And every week I put 100, around like $97.03 that I end up putting in, because they take that money. But that's actually on the physical coin. But when I convert it into Bitcoin and then transfer it over to BlockFi, there isn't an expense I had to pay for that. It's only when you actually buy the physical cryptocurrency. But if some people do not want to deal with that at all. They rather just keep that $3, just make a short-term trade into Bitcoin, and then I would recommend Webull or Robinhood.
Now, I watched the video. I don't know if you're familiar with this concept, Joe. I was watching a video on one of these YouTubers that there are these ATMs where with the right, I think, app or whatnot, you could actually go and deposit money and buy immediately Bitcoin, or perhaps do some transactions.
Actually, yes. Where I'm from in New Jersey, I have not seen one. I had a friend who lives in Boston. He goes to college there. Took a road trip up there, went to go see him. And now COVID was going on, so I couldn't be anywhere near the campus because of health reasons. Mm-hmm. So did the whole quarantine process, stayed up there. And I actually stopped off at a gas station. And when I walked inside to actually pay, there was a ATM there for Bitcoin. So you could put in your own cash and you can get basically like a digital payment of Bitcoin from there. I didn't do it personally, but I thought it was super cool. And like everybody else around me just kind of gave me a side eye, like, oh, this guy's not from here. And I was like, yeah, I'm not. This is really cool. I wish New Jersey had this.
That's so cool. Like, I was amazed when I first saw it. Yeah. And it's fascinating because you could think, the fact that now there's opportunity to kind of buy like a cryptocurrency perhaps immediately through ATMs. Maybe it's indirectly suggesting that it is a lot more common as some like to think, because I know at one point a few years ago, all these banks and financial institutions were saying like, no, this is like, it's not a recognized currency. It's not going to go anywhere, but it seems that it has found its place more and more.
Yeah, you're definitely seeing it more in cities. If you go to a major city in the US, you'll most likely find an ATM or something crypto related there. Definitely happy now that major like hedge funds and banks are now getting into crypto, mainly Bitcoin, but it's just making me happy that the big hands are getting in there, because it's making that more of a sound investment. I'm sure you've gotten comments on your channel of those bots, and they're talking about like spending money on crypto and all that stuff. And a lot of people got scared away because they're seeing all these fake comments everywhere. Everybody thinks it's a scam now. So it's kind of hard to argue both ends.
Mm-hmm. It is fascinating. It is fascinating regardless. Now, I don't know about our viewers, but I had a blast talking to Joe, talking about a variety of topics and really hearing his perspectives on those and how he approaches those. Thank you so much, Joe, for joining us here on Moementum Mondays. This would be our third episode of the show. So you're the first 3%. You made it to the top 3 joining here us on the show. And do you have any final word of advice or thoughts before we wrap up the show?
Yeah, I'll basically apply what I've learned myself is, if you're getting started investing or just trying to be smarter financially, just baby steps every day. Just try to do something financially smart that you normally wouldn't do on a regular basis. And if you keep that thought in your mind every day, one day you're going to look back and you're going to have a bunch of money and you're going to save more money. And it's going to become more of a daily habit to learn more. Mo has a great channel. Keep watching his content, his Monday videos, my videos. You can learn a lot. And yeah, thank you for having me. It's been an honor. It's been a lot of fun talking to you. It's definitely interesting learning things about what you do in your personal life and how trading is done in Canada as well.
Thank you, Joe. No, I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun talking to you. Well, thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode of Momentum Mondays. I hope it was valuable to you and you learned something from it. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit from the video as well. We've added the contact link to our invited guest to the description of the video, so be sure to check them out. And lastly, if you haven't done that already, please subscribe to Moementum channel. Here on Moementum, we post weekly various videos about the stock market investing, stock analysis, financial planning, and finances. Thank you, and I hope to see you next time.